Without really thinking about it, I want you to call up a mental image of someone who embodies the word smart. Got it? Okay, just as spontaneously, get a mental picture of someone who fleshes out the word wisdom. Hold that thought. Now, I'm willing to bet your mind's eye didn't bring up two identical images to fit those two different words. When I tried this little exercise, the smart person wore large glasses and was attired in an expensive but conservatively styled business suit. This smart person had all the most traditional earmarks of power: white, male, 40-ish, tall, slender. Because he was smart, this guy also exuded an aura of successful. He had money, a good job, a nice car, sharp clothes. The smart image man looked both impressive and intimidating. Think Tony Stark from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This Iron Man is portrayed as a genius inventor, a successful businessman, a figure of significant wealth and influence. His character embodies our contemporary smart archetype with these traditional markers of intelligence and success in modern media, technological prowess, financial success, and a confident demeanor. And yes, Bob, when you Google smart, Einstein is the image that comes up. Kathleen, thank you. A nurse that you've worked with, a woman. How about, do others want to say something about who they came up with? In the chat is great. Now, I have to also admit that an alternative vision appeared. Professor Aaron, oh, Christy, yes, Jack Creed is wicked smart, which will bring me to my next point. This alternative image, a woman tech staff in the MIT Lincoln Lab. I love you guys. Forget those old images. There's also this classic geek, right? The scrawny glasses, pocket protector, and the whole work. But that image has been transformed by the age of the microprocessor. Bill Gates was the most geeky guy imaginable, and yet one of the richest in the world. Marla, thank you, a teacher. And of course, pop culture has done a lot of PR for this archetype, the geek, because that brilliant physicist, by the way, my nephew Jack Creed is just like Sheldon Cooper, with a passion for comic books and video games and science fiction that embodies the stereotypical geek trait. But that strong focus on academic and intellectual pursuits, a little social awkwardness, and a deep enthusiasm for niche hobbies is pretty prevalent in our culture today. But the word wisdom, what did that bring up for you? What ideas came up differently for you around wisdom? What was the image that came up? For me, it was really different. The features, the smart, savvy guy disappeared, and in its place was a face creased, yes, a grandmother, a face creased and worn, lined with a roadmap of wrinkles. The hair gray, long, and that Einstein is my hairdresser look, right? Our wise person looks and dress perhaps suggests maybe an indigenous ethnicity, but maybe not. Gender, too, wasn't so clear. There were hints across the gender spectrum. However, there was a decidedly rumpled and even weary quality to this wise one, who also clearly would have qualified for the senior citizen rate at the movies. Instead of the telltale marks of success, there was a suggestion of satisfaction, a sense of peace and contentment that hung around this human image of wisdom. Albus Dumbledore is a contemporary image of wisdom who, you know, he was really smart, but he was also he guided and was so wise when it came to telling Harry Potter how to go. Your images, oh, Kathleen's darling husband, who's intuitive and thinks big picture. I love that. My dad was full of proverbs and ideas for how to do things better. Your own images might be different than mine, but for all of us, being smart and being wise inhabit two really different places in our culturally determined cognitive mapping. So, which image, the smart one or the wise one, is more appealing? From the vision I described, the choice is between being rich, successful, and well groomed, or old, wrinkly, and having a perpetually bad hair day. That's not a great choice. Our mental images, though, are predetermined by cultural biases and prejudices that are hardwired into our brains. Being smart is a quality highly valued in our society. And that's why the images we dream up are of those most highly valued, our version of the ruling elite are the rich and powerful. Being wise is a quality that doesn't easily fit into our consumer-oriented veni, vidi, visa, I came, I saw, I charged culture. It's not easy to see what wisdom can do for us. So we identify wisdom with other images that we give only marginal status to in our culture: the very old and the very young, the mythical noble poor, the eternally powerless. At best, we credit wisdom with being a virtue we may possibly have the luxury of developing in our retirement years. It is false flattery for our culture to claim that wisdom is achieved in old age, or that we respect and honor our elders for the wisdom they possess. The truth is, we foist the title of being wise upon the third age, 60 to 90, because we're too busy really doing the really important things of life, too busy trying to be smart to be bothered with such an intangible, uncashable quality as wisdom. And yet, wisdom is not a peripheral quality of life and faith. In ancient Israel, wisdom was a normative, integral part of a compassionate person's mind and spirit. Strangely, Jewish wisdom books are often dismissed by us in our search for more ethereal spiritual insights. The book of Proverbs, for example, seems far too concerned with mundanities to appeal to our lofty spiritual aims. Jewish wisdom, after all, stressed realism. It asked point blank, as does James in today's text, how can we live so as not to displease God, but continue in God's favor? The advice of Jewish wisdom was not any mumbo-jumbo chanting of cryptic sayings or some secret knowledge of spiritual mysteries. It was suggestions on how to run an effective household, how to work with others, how to get along in this world. Jewish wisdom on occasion taught that even wisdom itself needed to be tempered by wisdom. In Ecclesiastes 7, it says, "Do not be too righteous, and do not act too wise. Why should you destroy yourself? For the one who fears God shall succeed with both." This vision of wisdom shaped Jesus's advice to his disciples that they should be as wise as serpents and as innocent as doves. Wisdom is not the sage, sanctimonious sayings of old folk. It is the informed, inspired, yet humble movement of God's spirit and insight within the human heart and mind. Let me say that again. Wisdom is the informed, inspired, yet humble movement of God's spirit and insight within us, within the human heart and mind. When James urges Christians to act wisely in their community of faith, he's differentiating between those who know more and those who know better. Rooted in their connection to Athena, the goddess of wisdom, knowledge, and learning in Greek mythology, the nocturnal and solitary owl is a classic symbol of wisdom for us. Perhaps it's their quiet, seemingly contemplative ways, their wide-eyed, taking it all in stare, their stealth as hunters, or the fact that they can swivel their necks 180 degrees and so keep as sharp a lookout behind them as they can in front of them, that gives them this reputation for wisdom. Crows and ravens, on the other hand, are known to be very smart birds. Like parrots, they mimic, they can be taught to talk. They can use tools, actually, and are incredibly adaptable. They can figure out fairly complex logistical problems, its studies have shown. However, crows and ravens, I wish Paul's not here, right? I wish Paul and Julie were here. Crows and ravens are also compulsive collectors. They will fill their nests with odd bits of shiny metal, gleaming buttons, bright string, anything glitzy and gaudy that catches their eye is dragged home. The book of James is thought to be more wisdom literature than epistle, and in the text we read today, he calls Christians to embody wisdom, that is, to be the owls of this world, a world where there is the paradox of more and more information and less wisdom. You might observe, James might have observed, that too many of us have become crows, smart to the ways of the world, but suckered in to any bright new idea, any slickly appealing gimmick. Interestingly, the highly social and acquisitive ways of crows leads to loud squabbles and long battles over particularly prized bits of flotsam and jetsam. For all their smarts, crows will spend the better part of a day pursuing another member of the flock who has picked up an especially appealing piece of junk. You can listen to them. It sounds like Bryce does so in his elm tree. You can listen to them scream and screech as they wage war against the crow with the coveted goody. James reminds us that, like owls, Christian wise ones are called not to wage war, but to wage wisdom on the world. Waging wisdom takes an entirely different type of armature than the secular world is used to wearing. James calls his Christian brothers and sisters, siblings, to outfit themselves with purity, peace, gentleness, reasonableness, a yielding spirit, mercy, good fruits, and sincerity. The founder of the Sojourners community in Washington, D.C., Jim Wallis, tells this personal story that may be one of the best examples of what it looks like to wage wisdom that I have ever heard. He was mugged right outside of his home by 4 kids. They rushed him, slashed his face, and then yelled, "Keep him down, get his wallet." Here's his story. I popped up quickly, which seemed to surprise them. Seeing no weapons flashed, I squared my face to my attackers. This was the first chance we had had to really see each other face to face. I saw that my assailants were just children, 3 at about 15 and 1 little one who couldn't have been more than 13. The boys backed up a little when they saw I was bigger than they had expected. I'm a strong believer in nonviolence, but I have learned that being a weightlifter often helps in these potential conflict situations. The one who had hit me moved into a boxing stance while the others circled. The little guy began attempting some ineffectual karate kicks, which I assumed he had seen on television. I decided to confront them, not intending to hurt them, but to fend them off. Instinctively, I began to scold these lost young souls. I told them just to stop it, to stop terrorizing people, to stop such violent behavior in our neighborhood. And finally, I shouted at them, "I'm a pastor." And I told them that if they wanted to try and beat up and rob a pastor, they should come ahead and take their best shot. I knew somehow that invoking the authority of the church in the street is hardly a sure thing these days, when our churches often have such little involvement there. But whatever it was that changed their mind, the youthful muggers turned and ran. "Get back here," I shouted after them, then instantly realized that probably wasn't a good thing to say at the moment. But then something really amazing happened. The littlest kid, who couldn't have been more than 4.5 feet tall, turned back and looked at me as he ran away. With a sad face and voice that was even sadder, the young karate kicker said, "Pastor, ask God for a blessing for me." He and his friends had just assaulted me. The little one had tried so hard to be one of the big, tough guys. Yet he knew he needed a blessing. The young boy knew he was in trouble. I think they all did. When Christians wage wisdom on this world, even tough guys become touch guys who respond to the touch of God, the touch of grace. Beloved, it has been said that if you are facing in the right direction, all you need do is keep on walking. James was concerned about which direction we were facing. Jesus was concerned about which direction we are facing. Honestly, at its ground, this is what church is all about. What direction are we facing? In our text, James wanted to address how Christians behaved with one another in the faith community, and he saw that the community was fit and vigorous when it was facing in the direction of love. The Message translation of this text puts it this way: do you want to be counted wise to build a reputation for wisdom? Here's what you do. Live well, live wisely, live humbly. It's the way you live, not the way you talk, that counts. Mean-spirited ambition isn't wisdom. Boasting that you are wise isn't wisdom. Twisting the truth to make yourself sound wise isn't wisdom. It's the furthest thing from wisdom. That's animal cunning, devilish conniving. Whenever you're trying to look better than others or get the better of others, things fall apart and everyone ends up at each other's throats. Real wisdom, God's wisdom, begins with a holy life and is characterized by getting along with others. It's gentle and reasonable, overflowing with mercy and blessings, not hot one day and cold the next, not two-faced. You can develop a healthy, robust community that lives right with God and enjoys its results only if you do the hard work of getting along with each other, treating each other with dignity and honor. As we walk into the new year, all we need do, beloved, is face in the direction of love and keep on walking. That will wage wisdom on the world for sure. May it be so. Amen.